evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Peter Dubois.
And I'm Beth Jones. First tonight, one man faces arson charges after police say two residences were set on fire Monday, leaving one home damaged and the other a total loss.
Our Doug Banks brings us the details from Mount Desert.
Officials say two separate fires on a private road in Mount Desert were intentionally set on Monday. Those fires left the outside of one residence damaged and destroyed another home. According to the state fire marshal's office, local fire departments responded to the two fires at two separate residential properties off of Stanley Mountain Road in Mount Desert. 58-year-old Glenn P. Stanley of Mount Desert Island has been charged with 2 counts of arson in connection to the fires. At this time, there is no clear motive for why Stanley allegedly started the fires. Multiple departments assisted the fire marshal's office, including Bar Harbor Police, Mount Desert Fire and Police, Acadia National Park Rangers, and more. Although not visible from the top of the property line, the second residence is located down and to the left, approximately a half a mile from the start of Stanley Mountain Road here behind me. The fire is still under investigation with the State Fire Marshal's office. Nobody was hurt and nobody was home at the time of the fires. In Mount Desert Island, I'm Doug Banks for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Maine State Police and Caribou Police are investigating the discovery of a body in Caribou. The body of a deceased man was located on the bank of the Aroostook River between the dam and Fort Street at approximately 1 p.m. today. The body will be transported to the office of the Chief Medical Examiner in Augusta, where an autopsy will be performed. No further details are available right now.
A Saginaw County deputy who was criticized for failing to prevent Maine's deadliest mass shooting is defending his actions. Brad Rogers spoke with him today. He says Robert Card's Army commanders misled him about the threat the Lewiston mass shooter posed.
In your mind, did the Army downplay this?
They either told it accurately at the time or they're elevating it now.
Sergeant Aaron Schofield says Army Reserve commanders in Saco downplayed a warning to him and Saco police that Robert Card might be planning a mass shooting.
He was angry, but never made any specific threats over the phone to me, like, hey, I'm going to come shoot everybody or anything like that.
So you don't think you were minimizing the threat when you were talking to the Saco PD?
No, I don't think I was minimizing.
Sergeant Schofield says Army commanders minimized the threat reported by Card's best friend and fellow reservist.
Clearly he was right in retrospect. He was spot on.
Schofield says Card's commanders, law enforcement officers themselves, also withheld crucial evidence about Card being committed to a psychiatric hospital last summer.
Oh, because they're scared, because I'm going to friggin' do something, because I am capable.
All that was withheld from me. I don't know why. I don't know why Sergeant Moat wouldn't have included that in his yellow flag probable cause statement.
Schofield says he tried to get a face-to-face with Card for a welfare check, but he was either not home, couldn't locate him, or was not answering the door.
There's a constitutional issue of me going through his front door without a warrant.
He says he was on the phone with Army Reserve commanders who convinced him a welfare check was no longer needed.
I was prepared to spend all day there if need be, but after my conversations with them, I was convinced that the welfare check was not needed at that point.
The Lewiston Commission believes Schofield should have initiated the yellow flag process, which could have led to the seizure of Card's firearms and him getting the help he needed. Schofield just took yellow flag training last spring.
What's your understanding of the yellow flag law at that time?
It's not impossible, but it's hoops you have to jump through. And
he says the better option would have been for someone to file criminal threatening charges against Card, which never happened.
There is no indication whatsoever that any of these crimes that nobody wanted to pursue charges on occurred in Saginaw County.
And that was Brad Rogers reporting. A family in Jay is hoping after nearly 38 years they'll finally learn what happened to Kimberly Moreau. The teenager's body has never been found, and as Mal Meyer reports, they're trying something new in hopes of generating more leads.
We have covered so many miles.
Richard Morrow has gone the distance looking for any sign of his daughter.
We've exhausted almost everything there is, but we're still trying.
Kimberly Morrow disappeared on May 10, 1986. Investigators have said a man claims he dropped Kim off at the end of her street at 3 a.m.
All we're interested in is getting Kim home. I ain't interested in prosecuting nobody. I ain't in none of that.
Richard believes someone with information is still out there.
We're hoping and praying to God that they turn around and they tell us.
Now, people can send a letter to P.O. Box number 2 at the J Post Office. Morrow hopes the anonymity will spur someone to speak.
We honestly feel that if they have another avenue to get us the information, that they may say, okay, I can do this.
Morrow says he's working with others to follow up or do any searches.
What we're trying to do is just gather information. We'll take the information and we'll check it out.
In a statement, Maine State Police say Morrow's case remains an active investigation and, quote, detectives vigorously pursue every lead. Richard says if they do find anything, then they would contact police.
I want to get a home for her 2 sisters who spent more than half their lives looking for her. And maybe I can get a year or 2 apiece before it's my time. Who knows?
As soon as she's found, Richard says posters like this one that he spent so many years putting up will come down.
That was Mal Meyer reporting. Meanwhile, 2 environmental groups and 1 youth group are suing the state because they say it isn't doing enough when it comes to climate change. Maine Youth Action, the Conservation Law Foundation, and the Sierra Club all filed their lawsuit on Friday in state court. The lawsuit says the Maine Department of Environmental Protection is under a quote, existing and ongoing statutory obligation to reduce emissions and has failed to do so. The lawsuit says the state must enact new rules which cut emissions for cars and trucks to make good on promises made by the Maine legislature in 2019.
Maine's climate law states that the board shall adopt rules to ensure compliance with those greenhouse gas emission targets. And not only does it say that, but those rules must prioritize reducing emissions from the sectors that are the greatest contributors. And here in Maine, that is transportation by a long shot. Transportation contributes about half of greenhouse gas emissions in the state. So basically, the lawsuit says that the department and the board have not done that. They have not adopted rules to ensure that Maine is going to hit its climate targets.
We reached out to the Maine Department of Environmental Protection and we were told they do not comment on pending litigation.
Well, Maine's governor has vetoed a bill to establish a minimum hourly wage for agricultural workers that she initially submitted herself. Governor Mills proposed setting the minimum wage for farm workers at $14.15 per hour. That's the same as the state's minimum wage for non-tipped employees. The proposal passed the legislature and appeared headed for enactment. However, Governor Mills vetoed the proposal today due to changes lawmakers made to the legislation prior to passing it. Governor Mills says lawmakers amended the bill to allow for privately initiated litigation. She said in her veto message that she preferred to allow the Maine Department of Labor to handle possible violations.
A new rent relief program could help Mainers at risk of eviction through the use of monthly vouchers. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bouchard explains more about how the program will also help survivors of domestic violence and abuse.
It's very encouraging when the Maine legislature passes a budget that attends to the real urgent needs of people.
Francine Garland Stark is the executive director for the Maine Coalition to End Domestic Violence. She's talking about a pilot program funded by the recently passed supplemental budget that will give $800 a month housing vouchers to low-income individuals at risk for evictions. Stark says the domestic violence advocacy groups are excited about this as well because it will help survivors of domestic violence get back on their feet.
Being able to have assistance to pay the rent and keep your head above water is really essential. So I think this will make a big difference in the lives of many survivors across the state.
Stark says it's not just survivors of domestic abuse that are in need of housing, but their organizations also don't have the resources to sustain a survivor with long-term housing, which could be a barrier to someone leaving their abuser.
We know, all of us know right now that Maine has a housing crisis where it's difficult to find a place to live, and it's really difficult to have that place be affordable for folks who are working full-time and being paid well.
One main aspect of this program, which will be administered by Maine Housing, is that the vouchers will be paid directly to the landlords. Stark says this is important because abusers will often have control over their victims' finances, including their bank account. In Augusta, I'm Corey Bouchard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
All right, and as we look outdoors, today was really a pretty pleasant day out there, and starting to feel things cool off at this hour.
Things got a little gusty during the day. There were, the occasional kick up of wind that gave you a bit of a chill, but at least we had plenty of sun. It was definitely a nice day to get outside for sure. So let's go ahead and get a first check of our forecast and see what's coming for the rest of the night.
Thank you so much, and a nice, pleasant day out there. Finally, right? Some mid-50s here in town, just west of town, Waterville, north. Look at that, some upper 50s. The coast did see some cooler temperatures. They did see that breeze off the ocean, and the ocean temperatures are still in those mid-40s. Overall, though, lots of sunshine throughout the day today, and we're still continuing to see just a few passing clouds, but after midnight, mainly before sunrise tomorrow, that's when some of those thicker clouds will be rolling in, and of course, some rain right behind that. Still some pretty gusty winds, around 15 miles an hour in town, Bar Harbor, Machias, so right at the coast, a little bit less of a breeze, but still anywhere around 10 to 15 miles per hour. Hour by hour forecast does show temperatures back in the 30s.
Alrighty, Conrad, thank you so much. And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, Hannaford issues a recall on certain types of ground beef due to possible contamination.
And Northern Light Health offers a way to get rid of unwanted prescriptions safely. We'll have those stories in more local news when we come right back.
Refine, your local expert in window and door installation, carpentry repairs, and commercial facilities management. At Refine, we're proud to offer Maine-made Paradigm windows crafted with care and precision to ensure quality and durability like no other. From quaint cottages to bustling businesses, let us refine your space with our signature Maine-made touch. Trust Refine to exceed your expectations every time. Contact us today and let Maine craftsmanship elevate your home or business. Rise with Refine.
Corendia presents the ABCs of CKD. C is for chronic, because chronic kidney disease and type 2 diabetes gets worse over time. K is for kidneys, because kidney damage can lead to kidney failure and dialysis. D is for doing more to protect your kidneys. Corendia is for adults with CKD and type 2 diabetes and is a once-daily tablet that is proven to reduce the risk of kidney failure, which can lead to dialysis. Corendia also slows the progression of kidney damage and reduces the risk of cardiovascular events such as heart attacks. Do not take Corendia if you have problems with your adrenal glands or take certain medications called CYP3A4 inhibitors. Corendia can cause high potassium levels in your blood. Tell your doctor about all the medicines you take and ask before taking potassium supplements or salt substitutes containing potassium. Corendia can also cause low blood pressure and low blood sodium. Kidney damage from CKD and type 2 diabetes is not reversible. Don't wait to ask your doctor if Corendia is right for you.
Liberty Mutual customized my car insurance and I saved hundreds. That's great. I know, I've been telling everyone.
Liberty. Liberty.
How many people did you tell? Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty. Liberty.
At the Toyota Spring Savings Event, great selection means lots of great savings deals. You could get 1.99% financing on most Tundra, hybrid, and gas models. See your New England Toyota dealer, your all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
We turned it up to 11.
It's nonstop Masked Mania.
All new Masked Singer, Wednesdays on Fox.
Hello, I'm Emma Smith, and coming up on Good Morning Maine on ABC7 and Fox 22, environmentalists are suing the state of Maine. We'll hear why. Plus, we'll learn about the new rent relief program that gained funding in this most recent legislative session, which will help provide people aid who are experiencing domestic abuse. These stories and more coming up.
Welcome back. Most of us have unused or expired medications somewhere in our homes, and Northern Light Health is offering a way to get rid of them safely. April 27th is National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, but you can drop those unused medicines off any day at locked kiosks just installed at Northern Light Maine Coast Hospital in Ellsworth or Northern Light Blue Hill Hospital. Northern Light pharmacies across the state will also take them. Pharmacist Brad Bouchard says most misused medications come from someone in the household, and he says turning them in helps prevent that and other problems as well.
We don't want them getting into waste treatment plants. It helps the environment that way to make sure they're disposed of correctly.
The kiosks do not take illegal drugs or needles, and Bouchard says anybody in the community can turn in their unused or expired medications. You do not need to make an appointment. All you need to do is bring it in its original container to a kiosk.
Local Hannaford stores have issued a recall on certain types of ground beef reportedly sold between April 6th and April 16th. They say the 80% and 85% lean ground beef sold during this time may be contaminated with E. coli. Over 16 stores in our coverage zone have been affected, including all the stores in Bangor, Brewer, Bucksport, Ellsworth, Millinocket, and more. For a full list of the impacted stores in our area, you can head to foxbangor.com.
In other news, over 95% of children attending public and private schools in Maine have received the required vaccines. The Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention made the announcement today, and it's the first year Maine has exceeded the so-called herd immunity threshold since reporting began back in 2011. Herd immunity or community immunity is when most of a population develops immunity from an infectious disease, whether through vaccination or previous infection. Director of the Maine CDC, Dr. Pateri Vah, says, quote, "It couldn't come at a better time, as the United States has already seen more measles cases in the first 3 months of 2024 than in all of 2023. This alarming trend highlights the importance of childhood vaccinations, which reduce the risk that Maine's youngest residents could face harmful and potentially fatal diseases," end quote.
And coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we'll have the latest from former President Trump's hush money trial as the first witness takes a stand.
And Hamas appears to be changing its demands over the release of hostages. Those stories and more as the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22 continues.
Do you have a wet basement, nasty crawl space, settling foundation, sinking concrete, or clogged gutters? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basement-y. For over 30 years, thousands of homeowners throughout Maine and southeastern New Hampshire have trusted TC Hafford. Basement waterproofing, crawl space repair, stabilizing foundations, concrete leveling, and gutter installation. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basement-y.
At Hood, our love for New England inspired New England Creamery. We make it with premium Hood milk and cream, then we overload it with the good stuff. Like Green Mountain Mint chip with a rich fudgy swirl. Maine Sweet Blueberry with real delicious blueberries. And Cape Cod Fudge Shop, packed with fudgy truffles. Hood's New England Creamery, from Hood, for New England. Try all 10 flavors.
Introducing the Chevy family of SUVs. Do more with tech. Do more with safety. Do more with style. The Chevy family of SUVs. There's one for everything you do. Qualified Chevy lessees can get this Trailblazer for around $299 a month. Or current Chevy owners can get $1,000 cash allowance on this Trailblazer.
Tired of your internet service constantly letting you down? Those other providers may promise the world with their flashy advertisements, but are you truly having a good customer experience? Fear not, because there's a new player in town. Introducing GoNet Speed. No more endless hold times or automated responses. We're here to listen, support, and provide you with the exceptional service you deserve. Our fast, reliable fiber internet, it's mind-blowing. Let us show you what true internet satisfaction feels like.
Animal Control has arrived.
Sir, you can't park that here. We're with the city, Fashion Police. We got a call regarding your pants.
With a herd of special guests, including horses, chickens, and
Lady Monkeyton.
Plus felines and canines.
Pause where I can see them.
And this little guy.
I need you to take a step back. I can feel your breath on my nipples.
And if you've missed any episodes, watch them now on Hulu.
Hi. Yeah, you can come on over.
All new episodes of Animal Control, Wednesdays on Fox, next day Hulu.
There's one number you need to know. It's called Joe.
Cleanup efforts are ongoing at the site of the Baltimore Bridge collapse. Officials this week announcing they're getting ready to open another channel into the city's busy port. Fox's Kevin Cork has that story.
We are on track to have 4 different channels available to commercial transit by later this week.
The Port of Baltimore is opening a new 35 feet deep commercial shipping channel this week. It'll be the 4th channel to open since the collapse of the Francis Scott Key Bridge nearly a month ago.
This is an important milestone, but I also want to be very clear. This is not the goal. We have to and we will open the full federal channel.
It's good news, as it puts cleanup efforts slightly ahead of schedule. Officials had previously hoped to open a channel of this depth by the end of April, with the full 50-foot passageway reopening next month. Crews have been working around the clock amid dangerous conditions to make the deadline. This week alone, crews removed a massive piece of steel, an operation that took days.
This piece right here, this represents 560 tons of steel. That 560 tons is about the weight of a jumbo 747.
Progress comes as Baltimore's mayor and city council filed a lawsuit against the owner and manager of the Dolly, the cargo ship that slammed into the bridge, causing its collapse. The lawsuit accuses both parties of being negligent, claiming the ship was unseaworthy and its crew lacked proper training. The filing came shortly after the Dolly's owner and manager asked a Maryland court to limit their legal liability for the disaster. The companies behind the Dolly are refusing to comment on the pending litigation. In Washington, Kevin Cork, Fox News.
The criminal trial of former President Trump continues with testimony from the prosecution's first witness, David Pecker, the former publisher of the National Enquirer. Fox's Connor Hansen has more from New York.
Former President Donald Trump is using his limited time outside the courtroom to attack his opponent, President Biden.
So we're locked up in a courtroom, and this guy's out there campaigning.
Inside the courtroom, prosecutors continued questioning David Pecker, the ex-publisher of the National Enquirer. Pecker detailed a catch-and-kill plan in which he and Trump's campaign would buy and bury negative stories. In one instance, Pecker said his magazine paid a former Trump Tower doorman $30,000 for a story claiming Trump fathered a child outside his marriage, which they found out was not true. The former publisher confirmed the tabloid also ran negative stories about Trump's primary opponents during the 2016 election, saying Trump's former attorney, Michael Cohen, was often his contact.
Entering into a non-disclosure agreement is not illegal. Secondly, catch and kill schemes, which people in the media do, which is to buy the rights to a story and then choose not to publish it, they're also not illegal.
Court started Tuesday with a hearing on whether Trump violated his gag order. Prosecutors argued that Trump should pay $10,000, but Judge Juan Merchan has yet to rule either way. It's still unclear if Trump will take the stand himself.
Politically, it's going to be consequential if he doesn't take the stand, because they'll say he took the fifth.
Court is adjourned Wednesday, so testimony will resume Thursday. We can expect to hear more from David Pecker and other key witnesses then. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Meanwhile, it seems the so-called TikTok ban many lawmakers in Washington have been pushing for is about to become reality. The Senate is expected to pass the legislation as soon as today after the House attached it to a foreign aid package. But as Fox's Rebecca Castor reports, it could be some time before there's any action.
For all the TikTokers out there, your days of scrolling on the popular social media app could be numbered. The Senate is poised to pass a bill forcing TikTok's Chinese parent company to sell the platform or be banned in the U.S.
It's not really about TikTok, it's about ByteDance, the company that owns TikTok and is indisputably controlled by the Chinese Communist Party.
With bipartisan support, the House passed the legislation last month, but the Senate didn't move on it. So what's changed? Over the weekend, the House attached the TikTok provisions to a major foreign aid package for Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. The Senate could still shut it down, but that's unlikely as both sides of the aisle support more funding for those U.S. allies and are worried about TikTok's ties to the Chinese government.
The idea that we would give the Communist Party this much of a propaganda tool, as well as the ability to scrape 170 million Americans' personal data, it is a national security risk.
If the TikTok ban makes it out of the Senate, along with the foreign aid, President Biden is expected to sign it. But the app won't go away immediately. The matter is sure to be tied up in court as TikTok plans to claim the potential ban is a violation of free speech.
It really is a way to get messaging out that can be positive, but ultimately it needs to be sold to an American company, I think, so that we can at least have some regulation on it.
The bill gives ByteDance 9 months to sell TikTok, but also gives President Biden the ability to extend that deadline if a deal is in the works. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
As the war between Israel and Hamas reaches 200 days, the State Department reports the militant group has, quote, moved the goalpost and changed its demands in hostage negotiations with Israel. More than 100 people are still missing following Hamas's October 7th attacks. Relatives of those hostages are now pleading for action as the Jewish community marks the holiday of Passover. Fox's Jeff Paul has the story.
We cannot celebrate anything that has to do with freedom when we have hostages in Gaza.
A solemn start to Passover in Tel Aviv. On Monday, relatives of Israeli hostages lay out empty Seder tables to represent those killed or kidnapped by Hamas during the October 7th attacks. Many say they are struggling on how or even if they should celebrate the week-long Jewish holiday focused on freedom.
It's unbearable, and we are holding on to hope that our hostages will return.
It comes as the State Department revealed hostage negotiations between Hamas and Israel remain stalled after Hamas changed its demands.
What you have seen over the past few weeks is Hamas move the goalposts.
Militants are believed to still be holding around 130 hostages. While exact details of the talks aren't known, Hamas is reportedly refusing the latest deal, even as the Biden administration says Israel moved to meet some of their demands.
Hamas still has a choice. The fighting in Gaza, the suffering of the Palestinian people could end tonight if Hamas chose to accept the deal for release of hostages and the establishment of a ceasefire.
Ahead of Passover, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to bring those missing back home.
In the coming days, we will increase the military and political pressure on Hamas because this is the only way to free our hostages and achieve our victory.
Meanwhile, Hamas's military wing released a video accusing Israel of stalling, adding that time to reach a deal is running out. In Tel Aviv, Israel, Jeff Paul, Fox News.
A Russian court is rejecting the latest appeal by journalist Evan Gershkovich. It comes as the Biden administration renews its calls for Moscow to release detained Americans. Fox's Alex Hogan has more.
Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich will remain behind bars in Russia until at least June 30th. Tuesday, a Moscow court rejecting his latest appeal to be released from jail on espionage charges. It's one of several times that Gershkovich has appeared before a judge to appeal his pretrial detention, which is now past the 1-year mark. The Journal issuing a statement after the ruling, writing, quote, "It continues to be outrageous that Evan has been wrongfully detained by the Russian government for more than a year. Evan's freedom is long overdue, and we urge the administration to do everything in their power to secure his release." No trial date has been set yet, and espionage trials can last for more than a year in Russia. On Monday, the Biden administration once again accused Moscow of using wrongfully detained Americans as political pawns.
The United States and our many partners will keep working every day to reunite them with their families and to hold accountable governments that engage in this deplorable practice.
Gershkovich has been in jail since last year when he was arrested while on a reporting trip outside of Moscow. Russia accuses him of espionage, though authorities have yet to detail what evidence they have against him. The Wall Street Journal reporting last week that U.S. officials are preparing a new proposal for a deal to secure the 32-year-old's release. Evan Gershkovich faces up to 20 years behind bars if found guilty. In London, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
And still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, the University of Maine unveils the world's largest 3D printer. We'll hear about how they plan to use it.
And in sports, Orono's Ruth White is entering her final season of a storied high school career. We'll be right back.
The Kings of the Lanes lay everything on the line for a major. The PBA Tournament of Champions Finals, Sunday at 1 Eastern on Fox.
PDQ Door presents CHI Doors. CHI Doors are tough, dependable, engineered for fit and function. CHI Doors from PDQ Door, Hamden, Rockport, Bath, Waterville, Holton, Presque Isle, and PDQDoor.com.
Protect your vehicle from rusting away with Bell's Automotive Protection. We are the leader in mobile undercoating and rust proofing in Maine. We'll travel right to your driveway using the best and safest products on the market. This is much safer than rubberized coatings that can cause damage later on. We spray all types of vehicles, including commercial fleets. We all know vehicles aren't cheap anymore. Don't let the harsh winter chemicals eat them away. Call us or visit our page for a free quote. 207-659-3805.
A new deck is a great, affordable way to improve your home or camp. Hammond Lumber Company can help you create the perfect deck for your outdoor space. Visit Hammond's product showroom and explore their extensive range of decking and railing options. Your Hammond sales rep will be happy to help you with your materials and design choices, and Hammond delivers from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Make this the year you enjoy that new deck you've always wanted. It starts when you bring your vision to Hammond Lumber Company.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate. 974-7815.
Hey Red Sox fans, you've got to play You Pick 'em Red Sox at foxbangor.com. Local weekly winners receive prizes from Chase's Family Restaurant and Hideaway Lounge or from Chick-fil-A. Register now at foxbangor.com. You Pick 'em Red Sox is sponsored by Blind Faith Tattoo, Bangor, K&M Auto, Holden, Old Town Redemption Center, and Twin City Tile Brewer.
Always standing ready to answer the call to service. Service your garage door. PDQ Door. PDQDoor.com.
A huge milestone for the University of Maine Advanced Structures and Composites Center today as they unveiled another world record-breaking 3D printer. Our Grace Blanchard shares more.
Today, we will unveil Factory of the Future 1.0.
A momentous day for the University of Maine as the Advanced Structures and Composites Center pulled back the curtain to reveal the world's largest polymer 3D printer. The machine is capable of printing objects up to 96 feet long, 32 feet wide by 18 feet high, and will be programmed to work with Masterprint, the ASCC's previous world record-breaking 3D printer.
This reinforces what an R1 university does and what we do here at the University of Maine, and reaffirms our standing as leaders in composite materials research and advanced manufacturing.
This several million-dollar project is supported by the Office of the Secretary of Defense through the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. The country's Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Engineering says there is a great need for this work to support national defense.
To be able to develop a product in 1 or 2 days as opposed to God knows how many months, right? And you can do that with additive manufacturing, right? So it's huge where this is headed.
Later this year, the machine will complete a 52-foot-long vessel. University officials say they also hope to address issues such as affordable housing, with plans to develop a fully 3D printed neighborhood in the next few years.
A multitude of projects that can be potential solutions for us across multitude different manners, right? Across the services. That was really exciting.
The university hopes this will be a national blueprint for the future of large-scale manufacturing. In Orono, Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Hundreds of UMaine students volunteered their time to fight hunger today during the Maine Day Meal Pack-Out. Students gathered in the Memorial Gym to pack 55,000 meals, which will support 16 local food pantries. The event was organized by students in UMaine's Honors College like Jasper Mikowski.
So we've got two different meals that we're making here today. The first is apple cinnamon oatmeal, and then we're also doing Spanish rice. Both of these are highly nutritious, and what's incredible is that each meal can be prepared for just 37 cents.
To date, the annual event has provided more than 600,000 meals to area food pantries.
A one-of-a-kind hotel at the University of Maine celebrated its grand opening today. The Hotel Ursa, inspired by the Ursa Major and Minor constellations and the North Star that connects them, held a ribbon-cutting ceremony today. The hotel uses Colburn and Holmes halls, offering what they call modern rooms and suites, which possess a unique and historic charm. Located right on campus, the space will provide UMaine and the surrounding communities with high-quality campus-based hospitality services to support events happening in the university area.
Just
a lot going on at UMaine.
A whole lot going on.
Lot.
And I think that the hotel there right on campus will definitely provide a good resource for people who, maybe parents, the other organizations, teams coming in. So many possibilities there.
Also great to see the outreach work being done and, of course, the never-ending innovation coming out of there as well.
You love to see it.
Alrighty, folks. Well, coming up, we have our full 5-day forecast. Stay with us for that.
We saw an abundant amount of sunshine out there today. It felt great, right? Good time to be outdoors, but got some big changes on the way. A little bit of rain, maybe even some snow back in the forecast. When? I'll have the timing coming up.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Welcome to 207 Wellness, where transformation begins from within. Embark on a journey of self-betterment with our comprehensive services from weight management to IV hydration, vitamin supplementation, and neurotoxin injections. 207 Wellness is here to support your wellness goals. Take the first step toward a healthier, happier you, rejuvenate your body, refresh your mind, and reclaim your vitality with 207 Wellness. Transform your wellness, transform your life. Give us a call today.
So, all of us are here to talk about trading. Right now at US Cellular, you can get a new phone without having to trade in your old one.
Trade you my PB&J for that phone.
No, kid, you don't have to trade. See? $830 off any phone at US Cellular. No trade-in needed.
You drive a hard bargain. Boom. Chocolate milk.
You don't have to trade. I'll take the chocolate milk.
Okay.
Get $830 off any phone. No trade-in needed with any unlimited data plan.
When is my allergy spray gonna kick in?
You need Astapro.
Astapro?
It's faster, bro. 8 times faster than Flonase.
It's faster, bro.
It's faster, bro. It's faster, bro.
It's mom to you.
Astapro starts working in 30 minutes. Astapro and go.
When we say it'll be on time, they expect it to be on time.
Turn shipping to your advantage.
Keep those expectations with reliable ground shipping.
Thanks, Brandon.
With USPS Ground Advantage.
Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Is this the start of a dynasty? A redemption tour? A breakthrough? Or is this the makings of the wildest ride you'll ever witness? Any questions?
And just like that, we are back. Welcome back, folks. Our Maine weather tonight is brought to you by Washington County Community College. Discover choices, create success. Don't miss out on free college. And we are back. And guess what else is back? Some more rain in the next several hours. For now, though, our southern states down into Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, they're getting in on some light to even moderate rain. A couple of thunderstorms as well, closer to Cincinnati. Doesn't look like anything is severe severe right now. We will, of course, keep an eye on things. For us, though, no severe weather. We're actually just looking at some rain, maybe even some snowflakes mixing in by tomorrow afternoon to those evening hours. For now, though, we're just continuing to see more and more clouds rolling on in. In general, though, that rain, of course, will be taking over from west to east by around those morning hours, 7, 8, 9 a.m., and then really picking up in intensity closer to noon and into those afternoon hours tomorrow. And then as the cold air rolls in from the south, from the north to south, that's when we're going to see a couple of snowflakes mixing in with that rain here in town. Up north, Greenville, Millinocket, north of that, we are talking a little bit of that rain and snow, possibly a trace of snow on the ground, maybe a little bit more before melting away, of course, the next day. So if you're a snow lover, that's going to be your window tomorrow evening into tomorrow night. That's when you might see just a little bit of white on the ground. I know I'm a big snow lover. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be well up north into Millinocket. But rainfall-wise, the liquid equivalent rain, right? Dover, Foxcroft, near 1/4 inch of rain. Greenville, Millinocket area as well. And then right by here in town, of course, right at the coast, we're talking maybe 1/10 inch of rain or a little bit less right at Bar Harbor and Machias. Future snowfall, I know it's insane. We're still talking about this. It's end of April. We're not quite done with this just yet. Like I was saying, one of the most northern parts of the state up into Presque Isle and also by Caribou area. We're talking, of course, a little bit of accumulation up there with some cooler air that will be supporting some of that snow. Now, some gusty winds out there. Now, once again, by tomorrow, we are looking at some more breezy conditions all over the state with wind gusts around 35, possibly reaching up to 40 miles an hour at times. Now, let's talk temperatures. 57, that's our average high. We're going to be well below average Wednesday and Thursday, right back up to barbecue weather, I'd say, by the weekend, and then same story into beginning to middle of next week. For tonight, though, we're looking at temperatures around 31 degrees, mainly clear skies, still sticking around with some breezy conditions all over the area. For tomorrow, though, this is that main event, right? Increasing clouds early in the morning, and then rain will be in the area, possibly mixing with some snowflakes on the back end with still some breezy winds. Our extended forecast outlook does show much better weather Thursday, Friday, especially into Saturday. Might want to bring out those grills.
Already done.
Yeah.
Husband and I hauled it out this past weekend.
It's a good time to do so.
Yeah.
It should be a beautiful weekend.
We were in the mood for an act of optimism after continuing to clear trees off the property for the second weekend in a row.
Yeah, it's a
fallen trees. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope that the weather stays true and we have many more weekends like that to come.
Indeed.
All right, sports is coming up next. Stay with us.
The Honda you want is here. So drive in the moment with the versatile CR-V or Accord. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
Great Scott! This is Green Bear 420 in 2010. What kind of trip is this? I gotta get back to 2023. Wait, it's 2015. So much has changed. In 2023, we had a lot more glass, t-shirts, and novelties. It's gonna take a bolt of lightning to get me home. Finally, home at last. Now Green Bear 420, Green Bear Green Care is bigger and better than ever. To be continued.
A quality replacement window made with Fibrix material, which is twice as strong as vinyl, delivered through a stress-free process. Welcome to Renewal by Andersen. Get the peace of mind knowing Renewal by Andersen handles everything, from start to finish. With one call, you'll enjoy working with the best people, exclusive products, and a superior process.
It's the people.
It's the process.
It's the product.
Call now to get our exceptional signature service. This fantastic offer is available only for a limited time. Renewal by Andersen, the better way to a better window.
The Legacy Sandwich, where you can find quality, homemade sandwiches that are made to order. When it comes to food, we take it seriously. That's why we serve shredded chicken and turkey on our sandwiches, and our bacon is cooked fresh daily. To pair with your sandwich, we also have a selection of homemade soups, macaroni salad, and baked goods for dessert. The Legacy Sandwich, voted Bangor's best deli sandwich shop for the past 12 years running. It's not just a sandwich, it's a legacy. Give us a call today.
Get a great offer on the stylish Civic or HR-V and drive in the moment. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or hurry into your local Honda dealer today.
Tonight's Sports is brought to you by Diversified Ink Tattoo Studio in Bangor, located in the Penobscot Plaza, providing custom ink by licensed artists for more than 20 years. Welcome back in, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. Orono boys and girls track seasons are underway, and both of them are defending state champs, and one of the Red Riot's all-time greats is having her curtain call. Ryan Sudol has more.
I am really thankful for all the Orono community, including all the teammates I've had and all the coaches.
One of the most decorated athletic careers in state history is coming to a close as Ruth White is in her final season at Orono High School.
What Ruth has brought is just that with hard work and perseverance, you can achieve.
After a coaching change at Boise State, the 10-time state champ across cross-country and spring track announced last week she had decommitted and will now attend New Hampshire in the fall.
The coaches have consistently been really nice. All the girls I've talked to have been really welcoming and kind. There's also a good engineering program, and the coaches are really supportive of the academics.
While someone who lives in Orono going to UNH might sound like it would leave a sour taste, her fans love that she's a Wildcat.
Being so close to home, we'll get a chance to see her compete, which is really awesome.
I'll travel anywhere to watch her race, but I'm just happy that she's going to be happy.
And over these last 4 years, as her splits have gotten faster and faster, what hasn't changed from day one is her ability to take charge.
And she's always a leader in basically everything she does, but she's always really kind about it, and she has a really good heart.
At the end of every race, Ruth sticks around and congratulates every single runner. And that is the biggest part of her legacy she wants to be remembered for.
I hope that people will learn sportsmanship from me and the importance of being kind to your fellow competitors.
But hey, those accolades don't hurt either. And what a better way to go out than helping Orono girls track and field win their second straight state title.
I don't think it's guaranteed until it's over at the end of the day in state meet, but I think there's a lot of kids that work hard and have a lot of talent, so we'll see how much we can do together.
In Orono, I'm Ryan Sudol, ABC 7, Fox 22 Sports.
Thanks for that, Ryan. Let's go to the Diamond now. Maine baseball and some midweek action. They are hosting Merrimack College. Quick two-gamer between the two at Merrimack on Wednesday, in Orono on Tuesday. Top of the first, leadoff man Christian Gamelli at the dish, and he lines this Noah Lewis pitch the other way, and the Warriors have a quick 1-0 lead. 2 outs in the frame now. Braden Dolbashian at the dish. He gets a hold of one. That one is also out of Mahaney Diamond. 3-0 Warriors. Maine down 5-0 now in the bottom of the second, but here's a spark. Will Burns leading off the inning, and he drives one deep to right field. That baby is gone. Maine is on the board. The very next batter is Jake Marquez, and Marquez is going to drop the barrel and turn on one. That gets out of here over the fence and left. Back-to-back homers for Maine, and it's a brand new ball game. But the Merrimack Bats were alive and well on Tuesday. 2 runners on here for Dawson Bryce. That is a 3-run blast to right center field. Merrimack wins 13-3. Some softball now. The Old Town Coyotes and the Herman Hawks battling over in Herman. Bottom of the first, all tied up at 1. Herman's Addie Waning with a drive to center. Nice play, but deep enough to bring in the run. Hawks go up 2-1. Hawks looking to add another now, but Arabelle Milligan in the circle. She's going to get Sophie Peterson to ground to Lindsay Mockler. That keeps it a 1-run game. Top of the 6th now. Coyotes threatening with the bases loaded, but Braylon Wilcox gets Haley Soroy looking, halting the threat. That's a big strikeout there in the bottom of the 6th. Hawks with runners in scoring position. Ava Dean at the dish, going ahead and getting some ribbies of her own, driving in Wilcox and Mikkel Verrill. Hawks go on to win 8-1 is the final. And for some other scores from around the area, Brewer softball beats Ellsworth 7-3. Brewer baseball falls to Ellsworth 6-2. The Eagles get that one. Herman baseball taking down Old Town 2-1. And then in D3 baseball, Husson with a walk-off hit by pitch. They beat Bates 4-3. To the basketball court now. The Celtics back at practice on Tuesday for some final preparations before Game 2 against the Heat on Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Boston looking to take a 2-game series lead over Miami, the team that ended their season a year ago in the Eastern Conference Finals. Already a much different series this time around. Last year, if you remember, Boston fell behind 3-0 before storming back to force a Game 7. So while the situations may be different, Boston knows this Heat team is still dangerous and it's still the same old Heat. So they're ready for a battle the rest of the round.
They're going to be hungry, desperate. They're going to come out fast, even more aggressive, trying to turn us over, just trying to crash the glass hard, be physical, even more knocking us to the ground, just trying to win that physicality match any way they can. That's what I foresee, but we'll be ready, and we'll be ready to do the same thing.
All right, we'll see about that on Wednesday. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Why should your new floor come from Carpet One? Because we're passionate about the spaces our neighbors call home. We're part of your community, and we're also part of the world's largest cooperative of independently owned and operated flooring stores. So you can be sure you'll get great selection and outstanding value with every installation. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, tile, or luxury vinyl, our experts take the guesswork out of choosing the right floor. We're your local Carpet One Floor and Home, the one store for your perfect floor.
It was one thing when my mom got Alzheimer's, but then we started noticing things that seemed off. She developed agitation that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Sometimes she'd fidget with her fingers, get suddenly overwhelmed, and even throw things. And that was just never her. So we asked her doctor what else we could do.
Rexulti is the only FDA-approved medication proven to reduce agitation symptoms that may happen with dementia due to Alzheimer's disease. Rexulti can cause serious side effects. Elderly dementia patients have increased risk of death or stroke, report fever, stiff muscles, and confusion, which can be life-threatening, or uncontrolled muscle movements, which may be permanent. High blood sugar, which can lead to coma or death, weight gain, increased cholesterol, low white blood cells, unusual urges, dizziness on standing, falls, seizures, trouble swallowing, or sleepiness may occur.
Rexulti helped reduce my mom's symptoms.
Take action for your loved one. Ask their doctor about Rexulti.
Hood milking you. It's why we do what we do. Day in and day out. Making milk you can trust, with no artificial growth hormones. So you can feel good about Hood.
Hello, Ghostbusters! It's Doug. We help people customize and save hundreds on car insurance with Liberty Mutual. We got a bit of a situation. Sure, I can hold.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
In theaters now.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems. All things basementy. Our stable lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Hi, Eastern Maine. Watch 25 Words or Less with me, Meredith Vieira, weekdays at 9 a.m. after Good Morning Maine on Fox 22.
Cher is among a group of performers receiving music's highest honor. Taylor Swift shares more details about her new album as well. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin has the details to those stories and more in the Hollywood Nation.
Hi, Peanut.
Superheroes tease, new Rock Hall inductees revealed, and Swift shares details in the Hollywood Nation. Taylor Swift is opening up about her new album, The Tortured Poets Department. Swifties can head to Amazon Music for a track-by-track album experience, featuring the global superstar sharing the stories and inspiration behind each song. Inductees for the 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame have been announced. This year's class includes legendary singer Cher, R&B Grammy winner Mary J. Blige, the godfather of metal Ozzy Osbourne, Dave Matthews Band, and Foreigner. The induction ceremony will stream live from Cleveland, Ohio on Disney Plus October 19th. Imagine Dragons announced their sixth album, Loom, will be released June 28th. The Grammy-winning rock band will also celebrate the record release on their North American tour, kicking off July 30th.
I'm going out tonight.
Warner Brothers released an extended look at The Watchers. The new trailer for the horror thriller starring Dakota Fanning teases deadly creatures watching and stalking four strangers trapped in a house in the Irish woods. The film arrives in theaters June 7th.
Look, lady,
I'm not interested.
Disney and Marvel Studios dropped a new trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, which follows the superheroes jumping through portals and seems to tease a connection to Doctor Strange. It also introduces The Crown's Emma Corrin as a new villain and features Hugh Jackman's Wolverine sporting the yellow and blue costume from the X-Men comics. It opens in theaters July 26th. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
A new docu-series follows the infamous group of guys from New Jersey living on a prayer following their rock star dreams. We spoke with Bon Jovi about telling their story in Hulu's Thank You, Good Night, the Bon Jovi story. And here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin again.
Hulu's Thank You, Good Night, the Bon Jovi story is about the iconic band's past and future.
You've heard the story about people saying that they see their life go before them just before they pass. We have the benefit of being alive and well, while these 40 years have just gone by in a blink of an eye.
I was shocked of all the things I've forgotten. We've done so much in 40 years.
Are we telling the truth or are we going to lie?
The docu-series spans the ups and downs, including Richie Sambora leaving the band and John Bon Jovi's vocal cord surgery. John says they wanted to tell the whole story.
And that's why, for instance, we didn't sit for one collective interview. So there was no kind of discussing, oh, you said this, I said that. This is your truth. Say it.
It's also a doc to rock out to.
Each chapter over the 40 years is unique, and the music consistently resonated with fans. What do you credit that to?
I thank you for that, Ashley. That was always my hope and desire. Growing up in public, from the time I was 21 till I'm now 62 years old, we've had one record deal with the same company. And having people come along on this journey, whether they got off the ride or got on the ride at different points, is not our issue. But the question is, were you honest? For no money in the world would I try to rewrite You Give Love a Bad Name. It's just not the thing to do at 62 years old. I jokingly said in a forum last night, I can guarantee you that the title of the next album is not Dude.
The next album is called Forever, and John clarifies why tour plans are TBD.
Let me be clear. I can sing again. Our bar, as we call it, the bar that we have to hold up, is that we want to be able to do the 2.5 hours a night, 4 nights a week.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Well, as someone who's been a Bon Jovi fan from the beginning, all I can say is what a ride it's been. Well, new music legends, as we alluded to previously, are set to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame this year. The Hall of Fame Foundation announces its 2024 inductees. They do include Ozzy Osbourne, Mary J. Blige, Cher, Foreigner, Kool and the Gang, a favorite of mine, and A Tribe Called Quest, another favorite. This year's Musical Excellence Award honorees will include Dionne Warwick and Jimmy Buffett, Lenny Kravitz, Mariah Carey, and the late Sinead O'Connor were among artists nominated but not inducted. The induction ceremony will be held on October 19th at the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse in Cleveland. So a lot of big names there. I always enjoy watching that ceremony, and they fired off a lot of names of people that I've followed and enjoyed for a long time.
They certainly have, and even all of those nominations that didn't make it in this round, they all seem worthy. It's just quite an incredible lineup there. So really great. It's a amazing thing to celebrate these musicians and the impact they've made.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. Well, that is going to do it for us. From everyone here